Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by the one, Sleeping Warrior. I have to put mouses over, people have got stuff presented. Righteous Force, Ranty, Jibby Jedi, Chris, Chocolate Saiyan, Arwen, and 10th Man in G+, and a whole bunch of people on Discord. Welcome, one and all.
Morning. Hello.
Good afternoon.
Hail Megatron.
Hail Megatron. Let's see if we can have a concise housekeeping. It's been a
Starscream.
while since... Considering how slow it's been with Globers, all of the housekeeping questions have been relatively drug out on each episode. It's been surprising. Nevertheless, any signs of Earth curvature?
Nathan, is it possible that I could make a request? Rather than do our housekeeping today, just to mix it up a little bit, could we answer some questions from a baller's housekeeping questions? That
Of course,
he
go
thinks
ahead. Yeah, I don't mind that. Go ahead.
Okay. Bear with me one sec while I remember where it is. I had it a second
Didn't
ago.
we do that before?
Just trying to remember what
We have
guy
done
it
that
was.
before, yes, Brian. Once, maybe twice before we've done that. We were alluded to them having formulated housekeeping questions over a series of months, and then the final / semi-final draft was passed on to Bob the Fallacy Guy. And then, once polished up, it was then passed to us. Now, we got the first polished and second polished drafts and immediately took them to pieces at face value in the space of about 30 minutes on the fly when we first received them. So yes, it was quite amusing given the amount of time they put into them and how quickly they were debunked. But yes, shout out to Ranty, who was actually the one who compared that.
Right, Nathan, I found them.
That's right, on a Sunday.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Are we going to credit the channel they've come from so that we can name and shame him, or should we not credit him because we don't want to give him any attention?
Depends how good the questions are. If we're all stumped at the end of these questions, definitely give him credit.
Okay, well, what we'll do is we'll leave it subject to addressing the questions that he asks, and from there we'll make up our own minds. All right, so the first question for flat earthers. If the Earth is flat, then how do we have stars rotating at two opposite ends of the Earth?
Right, that's a formal logical fallacy that assumes its outcome. So, at opposite ends of the Earth is his assumption that he's on a spherical Earth. So he's saying, if you assume, as I demand you do, that when you travel south, you will arrive antipodal from whence you began, then how do you explain the star rotations on that presupposed antipodal position that you're now in? Yeah, we don't beg the question here, Muppet. That was swift. Moving on.
Ends is an assumption.
Well, he says that I think it's a badly worded question. I think what he's trying to say is, how do we have stars rotating in opposite directions at two opposing ends of the Earth? I think that's his question.
We don't. Oh, well, that's a much... Sorry, I misunderstood. I thought he was being much more smart than he was. We don't. They all rise in the east and set in the west.
So let's have the evidence to assert this, because this seems to be one of those questions that they're making, implying that this is what we ask and we're not asking this. This is what he thinks we're asking. So let's have evidence supporting that claim before we make that claim. How does that sound for the guy that's made this one? Evidence, please.
But to answer his question, all of the stars, save for Polaris, rise in the east, set in the west.
Yeah, that's all we've got to say. All the stars rise due east and set due west. That's all they do. That's all. And the rotation points, if you turn in north, if you're facing north and looking north, and then you turn south and then look south, they're going to rotate in the opposite direction. So I think that might be what he's referring to. Right. Number 2.
One second. I have something to add to that. Sorry. Where you going?
Hold
on, Sleeping Warrior. Go ahead, Brian. It's on the same question, so go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, just before we leave, 2 tests for this person to do. If they stand at the equator and they look north, then all the stars will be coming from their right and going to their left. If they turn right around and look south, all the stars are coming from their left and going to their right.
Yeah.
Now, there's an online test they can actually do. If you ask Google, how far south can Polaris be seen? Google will tell you 1.23 degrees south. That's 1.23 degrees south. You can see Polaris. If you ask them ask Google the same question, how far north can Sigma Octantis be seen, which is the supposed southern pole star? Google will continually keep telling you about the Southern Cross. So there is no answer there for how far north the southern star Sigma Octantis can be seen. How far north that can be seen. Google will not give you that information. So what they need to do is come up with how far north can Sigma Octantis be seen. That's what they need to do.
So number 2, how is there 24 hours of sun and 24 hours of darkness during a certain part of the year in Antarctica? See, this is, for me, this is like, nobody can verify that this is true because no one's allowed to go there by their own rules. So I don't know how he makes this claim when no one will go there.
Not true. My most popular video is Robert Shortman talking about his 18 months in Antarctica, 12 months of which were consecutive, and then followed by another 6 months consecutive time in Antarctica as a plumber for one of the research bases. And he regaled us with his stories in regards to what the sun did, and it absolutely did not rotate about him in 24-hour pattern at any point in the year. So, first-hand testimony, it's my most popular video on Nathan Oakley 1980, not that that's where this is going out live. If you're watching this on Nathan Oakley, subscribe below to the second channel if you did want to have watched this live, because you're not. Anyway, on the main channel, that's, like I say, Confessions of an Antarctic Plumber. Go and have a listen to first-hand testimony of someone who spent a prolonged period in Antarctica. No, there is not 24 hours of sun there.
June Weaver, 1987, correct?
That's correct.
Yes.
That's the YouTuber channel name, yes.
And then he says, if the sun is 3,000 to 5,000 miles above the Earth, then how does it not illuminate the entire surface? Oh my God, proximity, you penis.
Sorry,
Well, it's already all of the questions are fallacious in some way.
Just repeat, before you do, it's Doomweaver 2007. But anyway, just repeat the question. I was thinking of the actual correct name for Robert Shortman's YouTube channel rather than listening to your question. Can you repeat it?
Robert Shortman's one.
Your one, the one that you just asked. You said proximity was the answer.
If the sun is 3,000 to 5,000 miles above the Earth, then how does it not illuminate the entire surface? And the answer, of course, is proximity.
But how do they know it's 3,000 to 5,000?
What's the sun?
Just about to say.
And how far away is it?
Hold on. Unless we're to accept the
Can I take a crack at this?
No, it's a baseless generalization in terms of... No, it's a stereotyping fallacy in terms of asserting that we would assert that the sun is that distance. Well, I don't know what the distance to the sun is. I ask it daily. So that's a stereotyping fallacy to bundle me in with that assumption, if that's what that question's doing. Oh, so we've established the distance to the sun now, have we?
Yeah, I suppose. Okay, next one. If it's midnight where I'm standing and I were to raise to the same altitude as the sun, would I be able to see the sun on a flat Earth?
What the hell? Same as last time. Do I know the distance to the sun now? He knows the altitude of the sun, does he?
Oh, hang on, I've missed one, haven't I? Oh, no, I've not. Oh, no, sorry, I've missed number 4. Apologies. He says, if the sun is 3,000 to 5,000 miles above the Earth, at what point does it get low enough to illuminate the underside of clouds?
I can answer that.
Go on, then.
As far as the 3,000 to 5,000 miles above the Earth, we don't know what height it is. And this person doesn't know either. And neither do the rest of the bowlers. But the reason it lights up the underside of the clouds is because of the solar analemia.
No, it's not. No, stop. Chris, are you there? Chris has done a practical demonstration of this.
Yeah, I'm here.
Can you queue up your... Any chance... Are you on a computer? Can you share your practical demonstration of how this is done with an actual light?
Yeah, give me a second.
Just,
Go to my channel.
While Chris is queuing that up, if you can ask the next question, and we'll come back to this with a practical demonstration. It doesn't change my answer from the first time, which is what we've established the height of the sun now, have we? Well, no. So no, we're not going to just be pegged with this stereotyping fallacy that we say the sun is so high.
Of the sun via the sextant measuring the radiance. No. That's where it originally came from, was the sextant measurement, but it was only of radiance, not really like physical location, correct? I'm, assuming here.
All right, I got it. Let me screen share.
We will get to what you've asked, Jibby, and it is pertinent in terms of how you acquire it and what you do and don't know about its size based on its angular size, etc. But yeah, if I can, yeah, go ahead, Chris. If you can make it full screen, that'd be great. Perfect, absolutely perfect.
All right, do you want me to explain it or just play it and then talk about it briefly?
Either or, whatever you're happiest with.
I'll just play it. So, well, actually, let me pause it here and stop and say, so the question was, how do you have a shadow underneath the cloud of the mountain with the sunlight? Basically, the question is, how do you have it with the light source above? The light source has to be below, is the claim. So I went out and tested the claim. The claim's false. There's a naturally occurring phenomenon called albedo that you can easily Google and do a bunch of research on. Basically, that means all light will reflect off of nearly all surfaces. The only surface it doesn't really are things that are very, very dark, like black. But albedo happens on grass, on water, concrete, right, roofs and trees and bushes and everything, and dirt. So when I realized that, I did this test where I took the light source, held it above it's a lid that the shadow is being cast on, held it above the lid, and then got the shadow, a very prominent shadow, mind you. It's very detailed. But I'll finish it and just show, and I prove here the light source is well above the object.
Nice vid, Chris. I haven't even seen this one from you. Good work.
Yes, thank you very much for that, Chris. Absolutely perfect. Moving
Shout
on.
out to Cleary. Shout out to Cleary too. He did something similar in his house, on a table with a box and light. So he's got a very similar video to this, debunking that notion. So shout out to Cleary.
I just got back. Did Chris show his daughter's third grade homework yet?
No, we're working our way through some housekeeping questions that aren't ours.
Oh, forgive me.
That's okay. We're about 40% way through. Go ahead, Anthony.
All right, so are we on 5?
Hey, by the way, sorry, Simon Dan's in chat.
What's the answer to 4? What do I write for 4?
It starts with an incorrect assertion.
Albedo.
There you go. How'd you spell it?
How do you spell it? ALB
EDO.
EDO. Albedo.
Yeah, there's no way I'd have got that down to a one-word answer. Thanks, Chris. Excellent.
So, if it's midnight where I'm standing and I were to rise to the same altitude as the sun, would I be able to see the sun on a flat Earth?
Any evidence of the distance to the sun? Any evidence of the distance to the sun? Are we going to take this stereotyping fallacy? We had this already. Stereotyping fallacy.
We need to know what the sun is.
The sun, not
fine.
How about knowing it is something in a location in the first place?
Right. What is the sun? Also, correct, Darwin.
And then let's change the color again. On a flat Earth, how can 3 people on 3 different... This is my favorite question. How can 3 people on 3 different continents look south in 3 different directions and see the same stars at night? They can't. So that's the answer to that.
Has that happened?
They can't on a ball.
Hold on. The same stars. Are you assuming they are actual things in literal locations you're looking at?
Yeah, there's 3-pronged.
Claim.
What? Hold on,
Is that-
3-pronged.
that
Hold on.
area
Arwen's is
region?
first. Hold on. Arwen's is the most important. Are you assuming that they have a physical body with a physical location? That's the first thing. So what are the stars? That's the most crucial point. Yes, correct, Arwen. Next, is there any demonstration? So Chocolate's point and Anthony's overriding point. Has this actually been demonstrated to be the case? Well, no. Even the claims come with declination. So that's not correct. The third point is it's working on a presupposition of a sphere Earth again, isn't it? So it's 3-pronged debunking of this one, but I think we've said enough.
Can I say something on that, Nathan?
Yeah, go ahead.
With that one, you can calculate it. If you use calculations and supposed times, you can calculate how it might happen, because I went through this before, but there was no real world proof of it. But exactly as you said, they literally have to prove radius for that to ever happen. So it's like, it is pre-assumption of a globe. There's no real world data of that, but you can calculate it using a globe, but there's no real world data.
Shout out to Rakia Life, he says, shout out to Cleary for sure and all the truth seeker. The creation is an amazing subject. Rakia Life. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat. Really appreciate your support. Moving on, Anthony.
Number 7. During a sunrise, why does the sunlight illuminate the top of a mountain first and then move down? I think that we need evidence to support that assertion. I've never heard that one before, either way. Anybody heard that before?
Why does the sun light the top of the mountain first?
It's a claim that
What was
requires evidence to support it. I've never heard that before. Has anybody?
I don't know.
I've never heard that one.
I'd need to, yeah,
Would you
you're right. We
repeat it
need a
again?
visual.
Sorry.
Maybe that's one that he has to. Yeah, definitely give the guy credit. Right, who's this videographer? Let's give him some credit.
Can't remember. Let me look it up. Somebody I'm not familiar with.
While you're looking that up, I'll say why he's getting credit now. So I don't know. Without a visual demonstration of what he's claiming, I'm stumped at the explanation verbally thus far. I don't fully understand why does the top of the mountain get lit first. I can't even visualize that. I don't know about any of you on the panel. Can you?
I've never seen it before. I'd like to see evidence. Okay, the
Hopefully
guy
we'll
that's B-Ball for life, and he's got one watching his live stream. I think he's a 24-hour live streaming guy, and he's got it in his description box, and he shouts out knobheads like Unirock 2. Yeah, he's a really good debunker. Bob the Fallacy guy.
Hold on.
and so on.
Hold on. Don't shout out his shout outs. Just scroll back down. So shout out to B-Ball for Life for putting this list together. So in terms of your question in regards to the tops of mountains being lit by the sun first, give us a link, show us where on your channel we can find that example, and hopefully we'll have a look at it. And kudos to you for stumping us in this regard. But just your question-based format for this scenario isn't sufficient for us. So yeah, we need more information. But great, we don't have an answer.
I'm going to correct that. You used the word stumping us. That's not stumping us. We're asking for evidence to support the assertion in the first place. That's not stumping us. But we want to see something that makes you think that happens in the first place, because as far as we're concerned, it doesn't.
Well, okay, stumped in the regards that we can't write anything next to it other than need more information.
If a person in the Falkland Islands, a person in South Africa, and a person in Tasmania all looked due south, that's the key word here, due south at midnight, what direction would the stars be moving? East to west?
Did we cover that earlier? Okay, moving on. Just answer it in the... What the hell? Yeah, basic understanding of your own model might be useful in these circumstances. When you're formulating these questions, try to actually understand generally what's going on in the sky. Maybe by a telescope.
East to west. Okay, so...
Would you repeat that again, Anthony?
He says, if a person in the Falkland Islands, South Africa, and Tasmania all looked due south at midnight, what direction would the stars be moving?
Well, that's a stupid question.
They would be moving from the east
to
the west.
It is a stupid question. Let's not rehash it. Let's just move on.
Yeah.
Stars are not relocating. It's just this starlight is, arranged in a certain way in relation to the position on the Earth. That's it.
how does the moon get in front of the sun during an eclipse on flat Earth? Prove that it does it on the ball Earth first, because when we've seen evidence for the
hold on, prove no, you're whistling past the no. The first part of the question: how does the moon get in front of? Did it say? So
Yeah,
we're attributing physicality and the ability to obscure to these celestial objects, of which we have absolutely no idea what they are. But suddenly they're physically obscuring things, are they? It's not called that. It's called an occultation. And when they have a star moving in front of something, it's occulting it. It's not necessarily attributed to the physicality of it that the heliocentric model would dictate. But that's what he's asking us to accept, that there is a physical interaction.
Yeah.
So Arwen,
How do we know that's even the moon causing that?
Hold on, just one second.
How come the moon has never been detected on infrared prior to the approach of the sun during a solar eclipse? You can't detect its approach.
It seems to vanish. If you look up Thierry Lagarde, the French guy, he's credited with the first possible sighting of the new moon phase when it comes out of the new moon phase, because it's invisible. Nobody sees it anywhere on the Earth from any angle. No one sees it on the Earth for about 3 days. Now the claim is that, well, that doesn't mean it's not there. Well, if you can't see it and we can't detect its presence, then how do we know that it is the moon passing in front of it? Because my own personal spitballing opinion, right, that means nothing. I think it goes behind it and blocks the light from the sun. I don't think it goes in front of it.
You're just as bad as they are.
Can I ask a general question?
I wanted you to affirm that you normally would lend yourself to the physicality aspect of the planets, and then I want Jibby to repeat what he said about tracking it with equipment that we can't see. And anyway, you would normally say, oh, well, we don't know what they are and they're not physical and there's a physical assumption bias. I'm kind of parroting what you'd normally say, Arwen.
No, that's not what I wanted to say. But yes, indeed, that is a point. But I already made it. No, but I was wondering, has ever there been any eclipse filmed with infrared? Because I know that the moon at least shows up in infrared.
Yeah, perfect.
So what happens? How do things manifest?
Yeah. There's an answer.
What does it look like?
Arwen, go ahead, Jibby.
Yes, people with infrared have tried to detect the moon approaching the sun, and there is nothing on infrared. It just begins the occult process of the light of the sun, but there is nothing detected on infrared. And it would be if there was physicality of the moon out there in this alleged vacuum.
Okay, follow-up question. How about the supposed eclipse when it starts, right? Do you actually see a contrasting part that is blotted out, or do you just see a hole in the physical world? What does it look like? Does it look any different from regular camera work?
No, it's quite the same. Like infrared and regular is quite the same during the start of the eclipse. It's just.
Are we ever going to get done with?
All right, let's say there's a hole in the firmament, like a circular hole.
Oh my god!
And this spotlight goes across the firmament into a hole. Seems to be like that in a way.
Right. I've speculated the whole thing eclipses look almost like there is a hole is being covered up in front of, through which the sun shines, rather than it being obstructed by something staying in front of it. But yeah, that's just appearances, really.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that you don't see the moon before it actually crosses it.
Right.
Because supposedly the light's supposed to drown out other sights, but with infrared, that shouldn't be a problem at all.
Correct. It should appear on infrared.
That is very
And it should be
weird.
just done. There it is. Flat earthers, done.
Perfect.
Okay, I'll accept that.
Perfect.
It doesn't exist.
I remember listening to Crow 777 one day.
And moving on.
Sorry, Chocolate. You're the one who's ended up with the holding the pass the parcel when that's happened. So yeah, let's move on. Anthony, there's only one more question, right?
Yeah, and then he's got a stereotype fallacy underneath. He says, how does the US military communicate and have internet from the middle of Afghanistan if satellites don't exist? Ultra low wave frequency radio transmissions are what they're using, and they travel much further, and they're limited. So it's how do I do this? It's limited radio frequency bands that only military are allowed to use.
Right. They basically
also have
just use a
planes.
giant tower radiating over it, and the military is informed as to where they can pick it up.
They also have
Sorry,
they also have planes that help them with communication.
Yeah, the Nimrod.
There's a couple of different ones. There's 2 or 3 different versions. The
How
ones with
shortwave work?
like a dish on the top of them.
So limited low frequencies. That's what. And then the last thing he says: flat earthers only get their proof from other flat earthers, who all get their proof from Dubai. Has anybody ever cited a proof from Dubai on this show that we rely on daily?
No, I don't think so. Just a quick shout out to Bible Literalist. Subscribe today to Paula's channel. Hit those 3 dots next to her. She says, Nathan Oakley, not sure if the IR would be a valid tool if the moonlight is cool. Very interesting point, Paula.
no, it would be. It's cool, so it should absolutely infrared should definitely then pick it up.
Yes, it's not heat.
Well,
camera.
in their paradigm, what is the moon reflecting?
Sunlight.
Sun.
In their paradigm, not in reality.
That's why I caveated this. In their paradigm, what is the moonlight reflecting?
Sunlight.
What type of light?
Sunlight, supposedly.
Light.
Sunlight.
Full spectrum
Right,
light.
I see what you see. He's saying it would include infrared.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say, but it appears I can't get that out. Arwen, please go ahead.
Okay. Just wanted to make another point about the previous thing about the supposed satellites over Afghanistan. So if there is supposedly a satellite above there, then there should be full range contact everywhere. But there isn't, because mountain ranges? How does that make any sense if there's a thing hovering straight above, having full range? It should be able to contact everything at any part in any mountain or at the bottom of a mountain. But yet there's this specific band that points directly at that there's actually be a signal sent not from a top, but from the side.
Yeah,
having to
ground-based.
overcome the mountain ranges.
Absolutely, yeah, ground-based. Correct.
Or they're on balloons.
Or
Right?
balloons.
Do you remember that? Like satellites on balloons we've showed like, I don't know, 400, 500 times maybe.
Right.
Could be that, right?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Well,
So-
those would be temporary, and besides, how do they go? How long does that last? I think the military probably does have a big tower somewhere.
They allegedly have a recovery program for those balloons that go down.
Yeah, we get to see him from time to time now, don't we?
Yeah.
But is that in
Okay.
Afghanistan or in other regions?
Before we segue, so Anthony, is that the conclusion to these rather poor housekeeping questions?
Yeah, I just want to conclude by saying that last question: how does the U.S. military communicate? If they use ultra low the low frequency wavelengths, and the lower the frequency, the longer the wavelength, the further it can go, but the quality is reduced and compromised as a function. If you ever hear any radio communications that a military are using, it's always crappy quality, and that's because they're using long frequency wavelengths that only the military can use. They get the distance. Let me just address this one point again. He says, how does the moon get in front of the sun during eclipse on flat Earth? This is where I want to recite this, because this is quite old now, but a lot of people in chat will not be familiar with it. When the Americans had the solar eclipse in 2017, we got a lot of people from a lot of different areas all over the Earth on this topic to take evidence using different cameras with different settings, with all of the different angles to the eclipse, to see whether or not we could find any evidence whatsoever that the moon causes or eclipses or occults the sun. And all of the evidence indicates that the black shadow that we're seeing is actually a shadow. It's not the moon occulting the sun. It's the casting of a shadow from the other side of the sun, because this is black. There's nothing in it on any of these pictures. There's no earth shine. There's no evidence of physicality. It looks like we're trying to create a physicality from a shadow, because it looks like it's being cast from the other side. Now, I'm not saying that it definitely is that, but if the claim is that the moon passes or occults the sun in an eclipse, we need to prove that it is the moon that's doing it, because it appears that it's being occulted from behind. And unless they can prove that it's being done from in front, Simon Dan and co., then we can't say that it's the moon occulting the sun the way we're told. We want to see evidence that the moon is occulting the sun, because we know that at a new moon phase, no one sees it for 3 days, roughly. So don't quote me on the 3 days. Quote me on the bit that nobody ever sees it anywhere for like between 2.5 and 3 days. Well, why is that? We should be able to see it from different angles, because not everybody's getting total occultation, or not everybody's getting the limited vision. There are angles involved, but nobody sees it. So let's see the evidence that the moon is occulting the sun, and it is the cause of the solar eclipse.
And the 2017 eclipse, the shadow started up at the top right angle, I think it was, or right corner. It came down to it, didn't go up to it.
Okay, so it
Before-
didn't.
before
we start,
again.
hold on.
Together,
He's been waiting for about 15 minutes on this. So, right, Chris, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Perfect. Do you have to hand your questionnaire or exam questions or whatever they were?
Yeah, I don't know the best way of sharing it. I guess just pull it up on Skype and screen share again.
Perfect.
Yeah, hold on a second.
I'll-
Yeah, it's kind of
I'll put
changing
it in
subjects, but
I'll put it in Discord too.
Thanks. Thanks again, Sleeping Warrior, for those housekeeping questions. Nice that we can still rattle our way through in less than half an hour and debunk them all.
It's funny, isn't it, that we have our housekeeping questions. They can't answer it for over a year, and they make this supposed list of very detailed, far away presupposing questions, and we just answer them all in one go.
And they got drafts, first drafts, second drafts.
Yeah,
All
they
of our
have to
questions have
rework.
remained the same. We've just added on to them. Pretty
Okay,
funny.
so
And they were all about the sky.
can everyone see Chris's screen share? So presented to the audience now.
That was a good point, Brian. They were all about the sky. You're right.
If you can't see it in Discord, it should have been presented. So what I've got
They can see it in Discord.
natural and man-made. Okay, that's what we've got presented. Whoever's talking about it, please go ahead.
Chris,
oh well, do you want to talk about it, John?
it's your daughter's homework, right?
Yeah, but he
Why
doesn't-
would I talk about it, Chris?
Because
Oh,
you brought it up.
you told me to.
Holy shit.
I mean, it's
Okay,
pretty
I'll talk about it,
self-explanatory.
okay? Chris's
We're all-
daughter handed this in as her homework, right? And she got 100% because even she in 3rd grade knows the difference between natural and synthetic. Or natural and man-made. Let me break it down to you. But you ballers don't. I've posted this thing in Discord, and they still don't get it. Can you believe it?
I believe it.
Chew.
Nath,
Flick back to my screen for me.
I was hoping she did have a shoe up there. It's too bad she didn't, man.
I know there's a shirt.
Somebody needs to take Brandi shoe shopping.
Okay, you're up on screen, Anthony. Go ahead. Thank
All
you.
right, so going back to this eclipse point, how does the moon get in front of the sun during an eclipse on flat Earth? This is good times for all. This
Why
is
you
his.
sidetrack my point?
Are you really going to
As
rumpus
soon
me
as I
now?
pull it up, you go back to the stupid eclipse shit.
Yeah.
Right,
Go
why
ahead,
are you rumpusing
Anthony.
me?
Go ahead,
Are there
no
different
problem.
rules for you, John, to me?
No problem. Go ahead.
Well,
Thank
Riley,
you very
you did kind of sidetrack the point that we were on.
It's finished.
Nah, well, we're still making fun of the
Look.
ballers who apparently
Chocolate,
don't know the difference
you're
between
now-
natural and man-made, but Chris's daughter in 3rd grade does. I mean,
Stop virtue signaling to ballers, Tony. It's getting old. Stop doing
Arwen's
it.
now
They don't need
sidetracking
it.
the sidetracking. So if you want it on screen, it was on screen. You've just taken it off screen, Anthony. Just make it big. If
Yeah.
you
This is
would.
the fallacious sidetrack fallacy.
Yeah.
Because I'm being derailed on my point, I'm having to remake my point, which is wasting time. How does the moon get in front of the sun during eclipse on flat Earth? Okay, forget about eclipse on flat Earth. This is Good Times for All doing his full day of the eclipse observations in 2017, and what I'd like them to think about how this is possible on their model what they tell us is that this solar eclipse. Look at where the sun is coming into the moon on their model. Look at where the moon is supposed to be coming in. We can all agree it's somewhere between 1 and 2 p.m., right? And as the day progresses, we can see that it's traveling down towards 3. Now it's at 3. It's now going down to 4. And now I'd say it's at kind of 5. And it's going to go out at kind of 5. Does anybody agree that it's going to go out at about 5? And that's where it should proceed to, right? But for some reason, it starts to go across at 6 o'clock. Now it's going out towards 7 o'clock. Now it's going out towards 8 o'clock. Now it's at 9 o'clock. Bear in mind, it came in at like 1:30, 2:30, like 2 o'clock ish. Now it's at 9 o'clock. It's performing a U function, right? Why? Who knows? Who cares? But that's not consistent with their model. It's at 9 o'clock now, and now it's definitely going out at 9 o'clock. So how is it possible it comes in at kind of 1:30 and then goes right the way around down at 5? Well, it goes down in a straight line to 5, but then loops across and then goes out at 9 o'clock on their model. That doesn't make any logical sense. So I'd like that explaining from the guy that's presented the evidence or the claim, because if you can explain and demonstrate how that works on a ball Earth model, well, that's persuasive evidence for me that might support your model. But I don't think that could be modeled on their model. So I just like to see him explain that on his model, because that's real world, and I don't think it conforms with his model. Right, I'm done. John, you can have the mic.
That was actually a pretty good point. I've never seen this video.
Yeah, it kind of shits on the idea that it travels across the sun causing a solar eclipse. If it comes in at 2 o'clock and then goes out at 9 o'clock, forming a U shape, that's kind of like, huh? Shouldn't it be a straight line in all directions?
That's what I just said. Huh?
Doesn't matter what the angle is or which way it comes in. It should just be a straight transition of the sun. It should go in one side, come in from one side and go out the other side in pretty much a straight line for everybody. Yeah, it's for him. It performed a U shape. It's like
that's lunar refraction.
Yeah, it's non-standard refraction.
No, non-standard lunar refraction.
Yeah, non-standard lunar refraction.
Lunar refraction. I like that.
A quick shout out to Alexander, who says, I can't see Polaris from the southern hemisphere, end quote. That's why the Earth is a globe, end quote. What a moron.
Yeah, I can't see your London
They don't take much these days in order to believe they've proven the globe, do they?
No, I can't see what colour Arwen's underpants are from where I am. That makes it flat.
Okay.
To you on this one, so you know when you go down to, you know when you look at the Earth curve calculator, Tony?
Ah.
Who's chatting there?
The one, I think he's just giving you some words of encouragement.
Okay, so you know you've got the geometric results. The geometric drop. Yeah, so as soon as you go to refraction, in any shape or form, it automatically becomes a mirage.
It automatically becomes a begging the question fallacy because it's terrestrial refraction.
Mirage. Everything's a mirage. Once they go to that refraction, it automatically becomes a mirage. It's a hologram. It's not really.
Is my mic working?
Yeah, you're not really seeing it.
Yeah.
Is my mic
The
working?
person who said they can't see the sun after the horizon,
Yes,
can I
your
use
mic
the
is working.
backyard? There's a
can hear
backyard
you.
metaphor where you take a flashlight and you make a circle in your backyard and you hold a flashlight at a certain height and it makes a circular light upon the ground. And then you just do that in a circle and you have a camera on the ground. Now, for a certain part of that rotation, the camera will be doused in the light. But once you carry that flashlight away, it takes the light with it. And this is what we observe on this flat plane. Am I mistaken?
Nope. Also, the light, the sunlight acts like a Fresnel lens. So the further away the sun goes, you know, you get the bulging of the sun at night time. It seems to look bigger. And the real sun is hidden behind that as it goes further away. I've got plenty of images of that particular phenomena.
That's actually an actual proven, well, that's a thing that's been detailed before Flat Earth even, Randy. There's actually a thing, I can't remember the name of it now, but there's a, where it's literally, you think you're seeing the sun, but you're not. The sun is actually gone from that point. Nathan, remember the guy who sent in the super chat, who was talking about how you can't see Polaris from the southern part of the world, how that proves the globe.
But yeah, but he intentionally and deliberately used the word hemisphere to highlight the begging the question aspect.
Yeah, I made a point of not using that. But most ballers, I mean, a good portion of them, not all of them, but a good portion of them, don't know the difference between the Southern Cross and Sigma Octantis. Some of them.
Quick shout out to Alexander, who says, Simandan, hit the super chat button. That's how your comments will go public. Thanks for the super chat, Alexander.
I'm shocked that he could even write. That guy's a stone cold dumbass.
You have a fan. You have a fan, Nathan. He comes to your show and listens to you while having a bust of you behind him on his little desk.
Yeah, Simon Dan's a mega fan. Good for him, man.
Yep.
I asked him if he created that, and he said no. And I said, "Did you buy it?" And he said no, that somebody else made it and gave it to him as a gift.
Isn't that a form of worship?
Well, it's idolatry, so yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to Ian Adams, who says, I think Ranty needs a doll.
Yeah, where's the Ranty doll?
I think we need what we really need is a part 2 to the Globe Earth Dictate. I think we need that. So shout out to Darth, or whatever his name is, DATRH.
Has Scam Mandan been in none?
Yeah, he was in chat earlier for about 2 minutes. It's still, if you do the @ and then Psy, man, it still shows him in there, but he hasn't responded in a long time.
Yeah, if you make anything in the chat, you will remain in there at the @ symbol for the entirety of it.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought if you like clicked off the pay, like exit out, it would take it away, but guess not.
I think if you go in the chat box and you click in it and you hold Control F, you can actually type in to look for Simon, but it's not there, so he must have come off the page. Anyway, this isn't Flat Earth. Ryan, when are you going to come and do another presentation for me?
I have two ready. I have the final presentation on the sunrise speeds, a response to Joe Kovacs and Professor Phil Bell. I have that there, and I have the other one where with the diffraction limit and angular size change and occultation. So we'll do maybe next week. We'll do maybe one next week, because I'll be busy all weekend.
Sounds good. Sounds good to me.
I still have to answer questions on the last one, but I can do that on the next one because I'm going to do the response to Joe Kovacs and Phil Bell next, so that's not too long of a one. That won't be long like the last one.
So this one will only be like 3 hours long then.
Yeah. With the last one, there's really not like a do. Like, I mean, to give out everything I had to give out, it just had to be like that, you know.
Did you go to sleep saying numbers?
I'll be honest with you, I actually was really strangely totally drained after that. So I was it was like I was high from saying numbers and I was drained at the same time. I felt drunk. That's how I felt. Jesus.
Like 2 hours. Actually, it was 2 hours of you saying numbers. I think.
Yeah.
Never mind counting sheep.
Yeah, I felt really weird after that. I have to admit, I did feel weird because it was just numbers for 2 hours.
Pete Shea asks, ask Brian what he thinks the sun actually is.
What I think the sun actually is, as in just kind of speculation, pseudoscience. Actually is. I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't know. If just to throw out something, speculation. I believe this is. I mean, electromagnetic. That's controlled by both the North Magnetic Pole and Polaris. Now that's.
Say that one more time.
Speculation.
Say that one more time,
the
please.
North Magnetic Pole and Polaris.
Radio check.
Sorry, say that
Radio
again.
check. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
say that again.
We hear you.
All right. So, what is the sun made of? And you said electromagnetic.
Well, I just said that's kind of. I was asked what it is, and I just speculated. Pseudoscience. I said electromagnetic.
Oh, you're speculating. Okay.
Electromagnetic, controlled by the North Magnetic Pole, and Polaris being that would make the North Magnetic Pole the South Magnetic Pole, and Polaris is the real North Magnetic Pole. But it's only speculation.
Fair enough.
I have no evidence, scientific evidence for that.
You know, we
See how honest you just were, Brian. It's unfortunate that not everybody can be that honest and claim when they're speculating.
Yeah, exactly. Chocolate. There's nothing wrong with speculation and pseudoscience as long as you don't start calling it fact and proven. Isn't that it?
Well, have you seen the video of an electromagnet next to test tubes full of noble gases and how it illuminates the noble gases? Kind of like how the sun affects the atmosphere, where you'll have blue in the middle and orange and yellow and red on the ends of it. This gives credence to the electromagnetic perspective of the sun, in my opinion.
Yeah, I missed some of that because my
Yeah.
thing dropped. Yeah.
It's a really good video. Electromagnet near noble gases, and the way it illuminates the gases in the test tube, in the container.
Yeah, I look at that.
It does not illuminate them and excites them. They illuminate themselves.
Yes. And it mirrors what we see. So,
why did they put those gases in a container?
It was just an experiment, I guess. And
question.
I'm just checking.
Yeah.
One of the I listened to. I think I said this before, but there was this 2-hour presentation, or not presentation, but video I watched about back in 2016 at this stage, and there were 7 different physicists who all disagreed with the mainstream narrative of what the sun is, and they gave 7 different versions of what the sun is, and one or two, one of them was speaking about the sun being some form of glass with something within it. Now I don't know that, but if there was a particular gas within a container, You know, maybe. But it's sci-fi until we know better, isn't it?
I don't know. I mean, sometimes the sci-fi they get it somewhat right. Like I said, pointed out the other day, Mel Brooks knew something that apparently the ballers don't know. That you need some type of separation between air and no air, as displayed by Mega Maid in Spaceballs.
Stop the blow.
So, exactly.
I have this
So-
thing. I have a moon flashlight. Basically, it's a flashlight with a little transparent filament of the moon over the lens. So you hit the button and it shines the moon on the wall. So, as a thought experiment, I took a picture of the two, basically the light coming from the flashlight and the reflection upon the wall. And I say, you have two lights in a dark area from one source. You have the reflection of the moon upon the wall, but if you shine the camera directly into the flashlight, you see nothing but just bright light. But you have two light sources in this dark room, in this contained room, from one source, the flashlight. I hit the flashlight. It's bright when you look at it. You don't see the beam of light go all the way to the wall, and the wall shows the moon in full detail via the transparent layer. So you have two lights in one room from one source. Thought experiment. Is that what we're dealing with here?
Is there certain gases that are colder in nature than other gases, or is all gases of the same temperature, more or less the same, around about temperature?
I think temperature delegates where the gases lie in the atmosphere.
Yeah, temperature would be involved there, right? With with density as well. But I'm wondering about, is there a possible way to like shine light through a gas and create heat from one gas and not heat from another gas?
The two are intrinsically linked.
Yeah.
Pressure and temperature.
I was kind of going off the sun and the moon with the warm and the cold light. If we could create a cold light using gases and a warm light using gases, something like that. But sci-fi.
I have to mention that it was, I think it was quantum erasure that said that that may not be the case. We don't know if there's cold light.
Yeah, we don't know. I don't know either. I'm just kind of going if the cold light makes sense to me. It would make sense to me for entropy reasons. But that doesn't mean it is cold.
The moon's not reflecting the sun's light unless the moon is concave or flat. Simple as that.
I don't believe it's reflecting the light either. I believe that whatever light is coming off it is its own, or from a separate source. Would a colder light not help with the entropy of the winter? The opposite from the sun's light, which gives life. I know the sun is a massive entropy generator, but would the cold light not help? In the winter time, let's just say where I am in 52 degrees north of the equator, you get a lot more moonlight than
Here's
we do
the
in the
thing
summer.
I was discussing right here. I'm sharing the screen. This is my moon flashlight. I'm shining it upon the wall. You cannot see the beam going from the flashlight to the wall. It's invisible. There is two light sources coming from one source.
Yes,
Just
it's very likely what's happening.
What's that?
It's very likely what's happening because we're in a construct. This is not an accident. It's a construct.
Well, it's a construct, intelligent creation. It's a container.
Yeah.
You can assess that.
So that's why ideas like this
purchased
can be taken.
online, and this just made it really kind of like, I never thought of it like this. Like, I have 2 light sources in one room, but it's only emanating from one source. If I shine the camera into the flashlight, it's just a bright light. But I back it away and I see 2 light sources coming from one thing. And it creates this.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It was just interesting. You know, not
But
saying this is what we're dealing with, but
it makes a lot more sense than maybe is first perceived, because if you have whatever the sun is and the moon is, let's just say I don't know if the moon has a cold light, but it doesn't have a warm light. So whatever light is being sent is being sent by the sun. If that's coming from a separate source, and the light through the moon is coming from a separate source from both of them. And if maybe it's the same light, but whatever the sun and the moon are giving a different effect. So it's the same light, just sent through 2 different mediums.
I don't know. I've heard that the moonlight does not affect plant growth. With plant growth with a specific lightness, darkness cycle, stars and moon do not affect that, though they cast light upon the plants. It doesn't affect the cycle of light. I thought that was interesting.
Would the moonlight not help to create an entropy?
I don't know.
Because we have more moonlight in the winter time than we do in the summertime.
Not necessarily that I understand. Sometimes we can have like 13, 14 hours of moonlight in the summer.
Yeah, but we have a lot more sunlight too.
Right, we have more sunlight in the summer.
So the balance is different.
Yeah, the sunlight would drown out the moonlight. But it's
the
an
moon can
interesting
be
point.
out 13, 14 hours in the summer.
It's an interesting point about the entropy, though. I've suggested in one of my early bird shows about a month ago or more also that maybe moonlight is not literally cold, like some cold radiation. I don't know how that would even work, but maybe it changes the way entropy or heat exchange functions on the ground and allows heat to be released where it hits more rapidly. Maybe that is what it does. It could be testable. I even suggested a setup to test that.
I want to do a couple of quick shout outs. So both of them to the same person. Alexander says, yesterday I called an astrophysicist over the phone. He had no answer to the question regarding a gas pressure next to the vacuum of space. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat, Alexander. He then gives me another super chat and says he pointed to his colleague on the physics department, and then a little tongue out face. So thank you very much for the super chats, Alexander. Really appreciate your support.
That's awesome. No answer. Sounds like somebody else we know.
Yeah, like Dr. Daniel Faulkner. Well, he did have an answer. He referred us to the redneck retard Blue Marble Science and his gas pressure inside 2 different containers example. Incorrectly labelled gas pressure without a container, but Daniel Faulkner was critical of flat earthers, saying that the people who claim they can't debunk our claims simply have gone to the wrong sources and just Google searched it or gone to the internet. And his response to being asked how you can have gas pressure without a container was to go to the internet and cite Hillbilly Blue Balls. Amazing.
Hey,
What I
but
find interesting... Sorry, Arwen, go on.
So
Go on,
I
go on.
just wanted to ask Jibby for his opinion about what I just said about the moonlight, that it may not be carrying cold, because I don't know how that would work, how it could carry negative energy, but it might indeed be it causing an effect when it hits matter that causes the matter to transfer heat more rapidly, and in that way causing cold. What do you think about that?
Yeah, very possible. But I did this experiment. Well, observation. You got to be careful with these terms. One time where I had a full moon, and I was taking side steps between my house, blocking the moon, and full moonlight on my face. I closed my eyes, I could physically feel the cool on my face. When I
Right.
was in the moonlight with my eyes closed, I'd step to where my house would be blocking the moonlight on my face, and I felt a warmth.
Right,
So
but
there is a physicality to this temperature thing with the moon.
And with that, I'm going to say if you want to hear the continuation of this conversation, then stay tuned if you're watching on the Nathan Oakley 1980 premiering stream. But unfortunately, if you're watching this live on the Nathan Oakley channel, this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who tuned in, smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. Another massive thank you to today's Discord and G+ panels for making this live show possible. As I say, stay tuned if you're watching on Nathan Oakley 1980, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!